Hello and welcome to the Silver King's War. I'm Michael Sievers, the writer, producer, and creator of this podcast series about my father's Second World War as a B-26 bombardier. Today we continue in the Silver King's letters, called Dearest Ones, from France in January of 1945. It's the middle of winter, and he's had a lot of snow, and the mail seems to be getting better as he writes to his family on January 21st, 1945. Dearest Ones, as usual, your letter of December 27th was most welcome tonight. It seems I'm getting better delivery than you, and it's just one of those things which neither of us can help. However, I am glad you understand why it is, and you are being patient. Someday all of it will arrive, and that will make up for the lost time. From your questions, you still haven't received my letter about Paris. And dears, take my word for it. Don't believe all that you read in the papers. Naturally, the write-ups are bound to be somewhat sensational, and besides, they never tell all. So don't be alarmed or do any unnecessary worrying. Some things are going to be, and your worrying will not change them. Just keep your mind occupied with what happiness there will be for all after this thing is over and done. And save your questions until I can get home to answer them. You say you're expecting Leona and Richie soon, but you didn't say when. I do hope they are there by now, as I can imagine how you must have been looking forward to it. It's too bad Margie couldn't go with them, as I don't imagine Leona will want to stay away from her very long. I bet you will have a picnic with Richie, and I do envy you. I was surprised to hear that Rose and Frank have moved to the hotel. I never thought Dave would move back into the house. They surely don't need all that room unless it is to be a home for Joe, and I sincerely hope it will be that. Let me know all the fireworks that must be going on. I'm sorry you didn't go to New Orleans with the crowd, for I know you would have had a good time and enjoyed yourself. It's all right to be patriotic if you don't carry it too far. After all, everyone needs a little diversion now and then. For my sake, please go on as usual. I'm happy as long as I know you are. Please take care of yourselves and keep well. Love to Ida. I love you and miss you, Stan. One of Stanley's consistent jobs during the war was to write his folks and reassure them that whatever they might be reading about Europe during the war is something they need to keep in context for what he is relating to them. And he wants them not to worry too much. He knows, particularly in the case of Sara Belle, that she has a difficult time with things that she can't control. And in this case, that includes the war and the mail. As he writes to his family on January 23rd, 1945. Dearest Ones, there wasn't any mail last night, but I hope you received some. The chances for tonight are pretty good, and I hope I receive one saying you have heard from me. You mustn't lose your patience. Yesterday we had a veritable snowstorm which has covered the ground with about 3 inches. The weather here surely is unpredictable. After getting 3 shots in the arm, I decided to take a long walk. It was swell walking with the snow falling in my face, and besides, the exercise did me good. It isn't snowing today, but a terribly cold wind has been blowing all day. I decided it would be best to sit here by the fire and write a few letters. I only wish I had some carbon paper so I wouldn't have to write the same thing over and over again. See, that's how lazy I've become. Last night I saw a marvelous movie. It was Greer Garson in Mrs. Parkington, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I suppose you've seen it by now, but if you haven't, I recommend it highly. I'm sure you would enjoy it just as I. There isn't much I can write. I'm fine and thinking of you constantly, hoping you're well and not too lonesome. Take care of yourselves and write often. Love to Ida. I love you and miss you, Stan. One of the many skills that my father had, and as a son it's wonderful to observe him as an up-and-coming adult in Europe, was to remain in the present and to try to enjoy each day and somehow divert his attention from the hard work of the war. And he writes to his family on January 26th, 1945. Dearest Ones, I do hope this finds you well and not too lonesome, but I don't suppose you're lonesome now, as I presume Leona and Richie and Lena are there. I can imagine the fun and enjoyment you must be getting out of Richie. He must be quite a young man by now, and how I wish I could spend a few hours playing with him. Please write me all the details, what he says and does. There hasn't been any mail from you in quite a few days now. Last night I received some mail dated January 13th, and one of them says my mail has finally arrived in the States. I'm thankful for that because I'm sure you must have received some also. I was surprised when there wasn't a letter from you last night. Usually when mail does come in, there is always at least one letter from you. I guess you just didn't make the plane in time, and all your mail is somewhere out there in the middle of the Atlantic. Tonight I received a package from Lena and Duddy, cigarettes, soap, and razor blades. It was sweet of them to send it. I wrote them a letter tonight expressing my appreciation. But if Lena is still there, please convey my thanks. In my letter, I requested some first lieutenant bars. I wish you would send some also, as they are not available here, and I have a hunch I will need them soon. And please send me stationery and stamps if you haven't done so already. There isn't much left of what Aunt Rose sent, and when it runs out, I'll be up that tree again. Of course, if there is room in the box, you can add some food like cheese and canned chicken. I spent a quiet day by the fire. It is terribly cold out, and I didn't relish going out in it. I do feel for the guys fighting in the front lines. Each time I think about it, I'm more thankful to be in the Air Corps. Thank God the news continues to look good. I'm following every inch of the Russian offensive and praying nothing will stop them. If they continue to advance as they have been, I think the war can be over in a month. I don't like to be so optimistic for fear of having it backfire, but I can't help it. There is nothing I like better than the idea of being home for your wedding anniversary. So keep your fingers crossed along with me, and maybe it will turn out that way. I'm fine and thinking of you constantly, awaiting patiently for your letters. Please take care and keep well. My love to everyone. Love to Ida. I love you and miss you, Stan. As we follow the Silver King's day to day, we know that his themes are often about food and the mail. And now in late January, he's anticipating a promotion to be a first lieutenant, as he writes to his family on January 28, 1945. Dearest Ones, I didn't receive a letter tonight, but something just as well, a very sweet cable with Xmas wishes and a box of delicious cookies. The cable is a little late, but better late than not at all. This is the second one from you, and you just can't imagine how much I appreciate it. You think of everything, and by far, you're the sweetest persons in the world. The cookies are really out of this world. I haven't tasted anything so good since leaving the States. They came in perfect shape. Surprisingly, not one of them was even cracked. Thanks a million for being so sweet and kind to me. I saw a good movie this afternoon. It was Home in Indiana, which you probably have seen. I thoroughly enjoyed it and am glad I didn't see it before. In fact, am glad I didn't see many movies at all in the States, as all of them are now new to me here. It helps an awfully lot to pass the day. As usual, the days continue to be dull. It's too cold to do anything outside, so the warm weather again will be a relief. Just about now you're sitting down to that late Sunday morning breakfast, while I have already had dinner. I can almost taste Ida's hot biscuits with real butter. If the Russians keep going, maybe I'll be there to join you before long. At this writing, they are 90 miles from Berlin, and I'm praying that by the time this reaches you, they will be marching through Berlin. I would like to see them kill every last German there is, just as the Germans slaughtered so many others. I do hope you're well and taking care of yourselves. I love you and miss you, Stan. Stanley writes to his family about a brand new box of chocolate chip cookies, and he's thrilled. And I understand as his son what that means because I inherited the chocolate chip cookie gene from him. And while he's writing about food and dreaming of Ida May's biscuits on a Sunday morning, he's also showing a flash of anger as he writes about his hope for the Russians marching through Berlin and destroying the Germans. As he writes to his family on January 29th, 1945, Dearest Ones, I hit the jackpot in the mail tonight. I'm happy to say there are 6 letters from you and 2 from Leona. I don't have to tell you how much they mean to me. I love so much that you have been writing so faithfully. Although the letters are a month old, each and every one is a godsend. I'm only sorry that you haven't been hearing from me, but I'm glad that you understand it isn't my fault. If you recall, at that time the Germans had made their breakthrough. Consequently, all mail was being held up for needed supplies. I'm sure in due time you'll receive a bunch of them, just as I did. Your New Year's Eve didn't sound very exciting. You shouldn't have the attitude that you do. There's no sense in hibernating, as that surely won't help matters. Going on living as you have before as much as possible will help you. And my knowing you are will help me. Of course, I appreciate your feelings, but what is to be will be. There is nothing you can do to change the course of life. That's why I'm glad you did finally go to the club. I'm sure you found it much better than sitting home with just your thoughts. Jane's having a baby girl came as a surprise, even though you had mentioned it to me. I know it's just what Jane needed, and I'm extremely happy for her. Although I didn't care for the name. You'll find a check enclosed. Please buy her a gift for me, and as a special favor to me, please take it to her yourself with my best wishes and congrats. You know by all rights I should have been the father of the kid. And now that I know Leona is there, I still can't make this for both of you, as she will be gone before this arrives. It's too bad Margie couldn't have been there also, as I know she would have stayed longer. Still, I'm sure you all had a marvelous time. You must be sure to write all the details and let me know all that I missed. From all Leona writes about Margie, she must be gorgeous. She said Norm took some pictures of the kids. I surely hope they come out okay, as I'm so anxious to see what the baby looks like. I got a big kick out of her description of Richie's holiday. He surely had a nice one. Too bad all of us couldn't have been in on it. And next year we'll have a real one with Margie and all. There isn't anything new here. It was the usual dull day by the fire. The ground is still covered with snow, and it's awfully cold. I'm getting very tired of it, too. Please take care of yourselves and keep well. I'm fine and thinking of you constantly. Love to Ida. I love you and miss you, Stan. As our hero, the Silver King, waits every day through his war and wonders what's ahead, he always enjoys the distraction of letters from home and is looking forward to being an uncle to Richie and Margie as he writes to his family on January 30th, 1945. Dearest Ones, this was another swell night. Mail came in, 4 from you and 1 from Leona. 2 nights in a row like this is almost too much of a shock for me. After last night, I didn't expect any more for a week, but now I know I was all wrong. I'm sure you'll receive mine in some fashion. Unfortunately, the mail tonight was written before the ones that arrived last night. That makes it even older, but still so very welcome. I must thank you from the bottom of my heart for writing so faithfully. From the dates, I can see that you're writing every day, and I do appreciate it. You're the sweetest persons in the world. I'm still waiting to hear what went on when the kids were there. I know you all have had a marvelous time together, but now that they're gone, I hope you aren't too lonesome. I'm glad Mildred finally heard from Jack. I guess just about everyone is either here or on the way over. That must give you women a lot in common to talk about. I didn't know of Wilbur or Joe's promotion to major. It's indeed a big break for them. Maybe I got in the wrong branch of service, still a second lieutenant after a year. However, I'm not complaining. I'm an officer, and that's what counts. I could very easily be in bad shape, while now I'm sitting on top of the world. Of course, I would like to be home, but since I can't, I've got the next best thing to it. Yours and Leona's letters sound about identical. You both complain of being lonesome. It's a damn shame you have to be so far apart. Why don't you sell the business and move to Chicago? We had a snow blizzard most of the day, and it's plenty deep. As usual, we spent the day playing bridge. Please keep well and keep writing. I'll do the same. Love to Ida. I love you and I miss you. Stan. As Stanley raves about the recent haul of mail, talks about the cold weather and playing bridge with his buddies, we have reached the end of his writing in January of 1945 from northern France. And you are listening to the Silver King's War.